basic pieces here. These are just milled down to 3/4 of an inch. These are cut to width, 2 3/4. These are not cut to any particular dimensions yet, but they're milled down at the same time, so they're all the same thickness, same as the legs. And all I've done here is made the blank square. So after planing it, I jointed one edge and then I cut the 2 edges square. They're long, and then ran it through the table saw, so I had another square edge on this side. Then I marked out for the legs and made just a bandsaw cut on that side. So I've got 4 legs that have essentially 3 sides. This is the top. I will cut it to length. I will use the table saw to get this edge flat so it'll be ready for joinery, and then we'll use a taper jig, or I'm not sure which, to get that line on there. But that'll come after we glue in the cherry feet. And I've got my 2 pieces just dry fit here, and I continued the line, the cut line, the edge line down the side, so I know where that ends. And I've basically decided to use this small domino here. You could do a longer one and make it straight. The issue is getting it cut this way, and I considered squaring off these ends first and making a very deep cut and then cutting back. That seemed a little bit more than I needed. I'm going to use epoxy, and really all these are going to do is just add a little bit of strength to the joint, so that way I can go square on. And so I found where the center was and then marked a line on both pieces. I'm going to do that on both sides and put a domino on this side here and on that side, and that should be sufficient with the glue. Here's a view of the table from the top. Now I want to cut these parts of the apron to length and do the joinery at these intersections and for the legs. Okay, so I've set up the apron. The legs are going to attach here, here, and on the ends. And what I want to do now is check the grain orientation so it's the way I want it. I marked where these will be so I can do the joinery in the correct location, and I have also put it out this way so I can mark which pieces go where so I can reassemble it. And so as I'm doing the joinery, the right pieces will be up against the right other pieces. Okay, this piece number 7 is going to intersect this other piece right at this line. This side's going to line up. So what I'm going to do is lay this down. I've got a piece of plywood as a common reference and slide this up right to the line. And then clamp it in place. Now I'm going to make 2 cuts. One is going to be down this way, so it references off this face and uses the base plate, and so the dominoes will be offset from this plate this direction. And then I'll go from this side like this using the base again, and again they'll be offset from this edge going this direction. So they're basically offset from this corner the same amount, so when I stand it up they'll fit together. I'm also going to go a shallower depth this way so it doesn't go through the edge, and then a deeper depth that way. There you go. It's offset a little bit there, but that's because the dominoes didn't line up. So I will slice them a little narrower and we'll be good, but you can see it's right along the line there, which is what we want. Okay, at this point I'm just doing a dry fit. Do a couple things. One, check the joinery. I use different depths on the dominoes, so I wanted to make sure that, see if any of them needed to be trimmed. Make sure all my dimensions are good. This is the time to figure it out. I also wanted to make sure everything was good before I did all the detail work on the legs, if I have to remake a leg or something like that. I can also check for square. Everything looks really good. I actually found one of these joints didn't line up for some reason. My machine was offset or something, so I was able to fix that. Not a big deal. And also, you know, if for some reason with what you put on the drawings doesn't come out the way you like it in 3D, now's the time to look and change it or do whatever, abandon it if you don't like it that much. But I like it. It's what I envisioned. The dimensions are fine and it looks really good, so I'll get going on the detail on the legs, and then I have to figure out what I'm going to do for the back of the legs. I haven't quite figured that out yet. It's another thing I can do here. I can look at it and see how things interface. For instance, if I was to round out the back of this leg, I have to make sure I know where it stops. I thought about doing a taper on this side and continuing it, but then I run into an issue of where does this taper go when it's here? I'd have to stop it in both ways and do some hand work. Not a problem. I just want to make sure I figure that out now before I get really into doing it and make the cuts, and then you can't put the wood back on. Okay, I'm getting ready to route the grooves on the front. I have my router all set up, and what I've done is I've marked each one of these for the length of the center line cut, which is 7 inches. And I put a piece of tape just so I don't go past it. It's hard to see the line on the walnut. And what I'll do is I'll make all 4 of the center passes. That way I don't have to change the router. Then I'll go back to the first piece, offset the router, and I'll make a cut on from either side, offset 1/16 of an inch from the center line. And again, I'll do that on all pieces, and then they'll all be done, and they'll all be the same. Okay, what I'm putting in here is called purfling, and it's very inexpensive. It's plastic material, and it's used for guitars, around the edge of guitars to protect the edge. And it works very easily. You can easily cut it with a utility knife. And then at the bottom here, because the router leaves a slightly rounded edge, what I do is, well, it does leave a rounded a mortise there. What I do is I just run it a couple times over some sandpaper on both sides, and that rounds the edge. I don't know if you can see that or not. That rounds the edge fairly well, and that'll fit nicely into the slot. And I just put it in with some super glue, so I'll just kind of mark rough location. In fact, you don't even need to cut through the material. You can actually just score it, and it will break in half. And it's cheap. You can buy a lot of it for just a couple bucks online. Lots of places have it. So that's long enough already. This is the first one I put in, and I think what I'm going to do is put the center one in, flush it up, and then do the other two. I'm worried that this being so narrow in between them, that the router will break it out and make it one big opening. So for the other ones, I'm going to put the center piece in first and then route the second and third grooves. This is also, because it's plastic, it won't stain. So if you're going to stain the wood, you don't have to worry about it taking on any color, and it'll stay white. It's available in lots of different colors. This is white. You can get off-white. You can get mixtures of plastic that are kind of like pen blanks, sort of look to them. And just use a little bit of pressure to get it in there. In particular, I want to make sure that it's bottomed out on the end. It doesn't really matter down here, but on the end, because the edge will be seen. If it's not going to be seen, then it doesn't matter. So there you go. Okay, so this stuff works very easily. I'm using an old block plane just to flush this up, because the super glue and everything gets all over, and it's a pain to clean up, but it's very easy to plane down, very easy to get flush. You can see it's like PVC or something. Smells like PVC. Okay, I've glued up the main part of the apron, and this leg is just, as with the other ones, are not attached yet. The reason is that I want to put a bevel on the back of the legs here, a 45-degree bevel on both sides, and then here as well. But I can't route that if they're all attached. So what I'll do is I'll route the leg up to a certain point, and I'll route this all the way to the edge. That'll be fine. And then when I put them together, I need to connect that bevel so they meet in the corner, and I'll also have to do it on these inside sections here, because they're going to be rounded by the router bit. So as soon as this dries, I'll go route these separately, and then we can put it together. Okay, we're looking at the bottom here of the center of the apron, and I want to bring these two bevels together so they meet similar to the outside edge. And so what I'm going to do, they're obviously going to meet at a 45-degree angle, and they're going to follow this line. So I'm just going to put my chisel flat on there and kind of go in and tilt it at a 45-degree angle and kind of just start paring it away. And you can just use your eye to sort of see how far in it goes. As you, like, I can see this line comes over to about right there, so I've got about 1/8 of an inch to go. And you don't want to go, you're going with the grain here. Here you're going to go across the grain when you get in there, and you don't want to go too hard because you just crack it all out. So you just go nice and easy. There you go, you can hear it meeting itself. There we go, it's almost there. So now I got it flat against the bevel where it started. I'm just going to work it right into the corner. There we go.
Council to investigate those exercises. They claim that those are provocative exercises, that they are practice for an invasion.
Fox's Jennifer Griffin. Japanese media is saying the missile
With producing nearly 100 fake immigration, state, and federal IDs, Miguel Martinez Roldan, and his wife Angela Martinez making initial appearances today in district court in Dayton. The two brothers to be held without bond until a hearing on Tuesday.
Okay, I'm just about to complete the table. After putting stain on, I put on 3 or 4 coats of shellac, just using a foam brush. After that, I used some 400 grit, very easy just to get the finish nice and flat. Then I used a patter, which is essentially just a balled up cotton rag and with some shellac in it to start the process of rubbing out the finish, and just to get it nice and smooth and even and get a good sheen on it. And then to finish it all off, I'm just going to use some regular paste wax and steel wool and go over the whole thing. On the base, it's just going to get rid of any little nubs that are left, and the same thing on the top, and it'll just give it a nice even sheen and protect it if any water gets on it or anything like that. So we'll start that and get the thing finished.